Retro games are something that tug at the nostalgia string in your heart. I mean, look at this channel, I'm guilty of it too. Thus, it makes sense that there are plenty of games, usually indie titles, that try to cater to that nostalgia. So much so that it's gotten a little redundant, almost insulting even. However, there are times that games can break that mold and show that they can make them like they used to, and maybe even better. In comes Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight's title alone sounds ridiculous, and it helps that the game plays it completely straight. You play as Shovel Knight, armed only with your shovel, on a quest to save the entire world from a newfound evil that is upon it. Immediately, you'll notice that this game looks like something from your NES library, despite, having more colors than the NES could handle, and therefore technically more of a Super NES game, but I digress. Any more indie games may come under fire for using this retro pixel style for their games. Although it is true that it's overused, and really what I'm showing here are good examples of where it's used poorly, but whatever, it's something that's never bothered me. In fact, Shovel Knight's charm comes in part from its visual style. There's something just familiar, yet new at the same time, which will quickly be a running theme throughout this review. The usual criticism I mentioned earlier is where people will say that this style is lazy and plays solely for nostalgia value. While this also isn't wrong in some cases, it's very easy to see the care that went into Shovel Knight. Each level looks different from the last, right down to the color palette and the backgrounds. It's this wonderful amount of variety that helps drive home the right level of nostalgia and knew that this game manages to blend so well. The music is no exception. Simply put, it'll get stuck in your head in no time flat, just like those tunes from, surprise, the game's Shovel Knight derives its inspiration from. The highlights come in the boss music. Each stage has its own tune, and each boss has a more intense version of said song. It gives the fight a sense of urgency, even if you're able to smack the crap out of the boss before things really get going. So Shovel Knight looks and sounds good, but how does it play? Well look, I'm not gonna front, it's a load of fun. Shovel Knight feels like a mixture of Mega Man, Castlevania, Mario, and DuckTales mixed into something new. There's secrets galore in this game, which adds an element of exploration to each world. But all these things are the basic face value that Shovel Knight has. At its core, there's choices in the design that are almost perfect. For instance, despite the obvious nostalgia angle, Shovel Knight does not have a live system. Lives have come into question in recent years if they're even needed, as games like Rayman have abolished it altogether, while New Super Mario Bros. Continues to include it, while giving you 30 lives within the first world. Shovel Knight circumvents this, but still makes death a huge consequence. Throughout the game, you collect treasure to buy upgrades and items that will help you throughout your journey. Instead of losing a life, Shovel Knight takes your money away. This gives death weight, while also not causing you to have to redo an entire stage because you burned through your lives on a difficult part. Instead, you're given the opportunity to regain that treasure if you've died somewhere where it's obtainable, and you've learned from your mistake. This one change alone helps Shovel Knight balance a level of challenge while also teaching the player and giving the overall feel of the game some weight and tension. And speaking of challenge, that's the other thing Shovel Knight does superbly. Games anymore just want to hold your hand or have their difficulty be their selling point, but Shovel Knight manages to find a middle ground in all this. The earlier stages ease you into how the game works, while the later stages will teach you the gimmicks before the difficulty ramps up. While there are parts of the game that feel very trial and error, most of the time it's all dependent on your reaction time and skill. It's very rare for Shovel Knight to cause you to memorize something, and when you clear a particularly difficult part, it's very satisfying. And on the note of satisfying, killing the bosses is awesome, especially if you've been fighting one that's been giving you trouble. Each time the screen flashes and the boss flies back in defeat. Every single time. Yeah! And that's arguably the best part of Shovel Knight. The real sense of accomplishment that you did that. The game didn't help you, and there's not more frustrating or controller breaking garbage ahead. Just fun. Shovel Knight is one of the most fun games I've played in a while. It's familiar and refreshing, difficult at times, but always challenging, and above all, a joy to play. Not often do you get a title that truly reminds you why you love video games in the first place, and maybe, just maybe, it'll be the one that gets things on track. We'll see.